It's time for our second pitch. Please welcome to the stage, GameTime. GameTime. Here they come. GameTime is the real-time sports gaming platform that provides sports enthusiasts an exciting and engaging experience.
Play the game. So this video shows what makes sports great. It's the on the edge of your seat, can't wait to see what happens, you're engaged in the game, but honestly, this experience is pretty rare. GameTime is a new, more engaging take on fantasy sports that brings this experience to every game you're watching. GameTime asks users to predict the short, upcoming outcomes in a sports game, like what is the outcome of Texas's upcoming drive, or what is the outcome of Aaron Judge's upcoming at-bat? The user then predicts what they think is going to happen and then is engaged and cares about what happens. When you first open up GameTime, you'll be brought to our home screen, where you'll see the open games we're covering as well as the upcoming games that we're covering later. Once you join a game, you will see the real-time screen where we're asking you to predict the plays as they unfold in real time. If you swipe to the left, you can compete in a real live-time leaderboard where you can see how you rank up against the other players playing in that game.
Hi, I'm Ben Pankanine.
Hi, I'm Reed Centerfit.
I'm Thad Hutchison.
I'm Hudson Yancer.
And I'm Wes Mizell.
So what is the future of entertainment? Here at GameTime, we believe it's all about user engagement. Users simply want to be more involved and immersed in what they're doing nowadays, and live sports is no exception. Here at GameTime, we're trying to take advantage of that second screen that users have out, that iPhone, that iPad, that they're using while they're watching live sports. So how many of y'all have heard of an app called HQ Trivia? I'm assuming most of you have. It's a free application on the App Store that uses a model that we really would like to replicate. HQ Trivia is a free-to-play game where you, rather than watching and sit back and watching a game show, you actually get to be involved and play the game show yourself for free and competing for cash prizes. Here at GameTime, we'd love to replicate this model.
So over the last several months, we've been programming and testing our minimum viable product. For our MVP, we actually went out and developed the very first version of GameTime, which is live on the App Store right now under GameTime Live. Working with a UT Comp Sci student, we pooled our money together and developed the bare minimum we need to be able to run a game.
So we had three main goals while running our test games. We first wanted to verify that people liked the concept. We then needed to learn how to run the games, the best questions to ask and when to ask them. And last, but most importantly, we need to build and refine off users' input.
Recently, we've been testing our MVP in our business incubator class in Westlake. We played along with the pre-played college football game as users watched as it unfolded. Next, we played along with an NFL draft game where we got 20 users from home playing along as it unfolded.
After these test games, we sat down with users to learn about their experience. Right off the bat, we learned that they loved it. It was very engaging, and they said they immediately paid more attention to the game. Something we found interesting was that the people who normally didn't care about sports loved GameTime, and they found it as a way for them to be immersed in the game. These interviews also gave us great insight into what we want to add to our final product of GameTime. We want to add an incentive to win as well as a social competition. As Thad said earlier, we want to take the same model that HQ uses, where users can be awarded a cash prize at the same time as games still being free to play. And as a social competition, we want users to be able to see on the leaderboard where they rank up just against their friends and not against the entire national leaderboard.
We have two competitors, WinView and FireFan. WinView is like us in that they ask short, in-game questions. However, the problem with WinView is that you have to be locked in the whole entire game. You can't decide to take a bathroom break at the end of the third quarter or decide to start playing after halftime. You just cannot win. It's virtually impossible. Another problem with WinView is that it has a very complex interface that is very hard to navigate through. FireFan is pretty much a lesser version of WinView that you actually have to pay to play. Our unique value lies in our streaks and our simplicity. We decided to rank GameTime users based off of streaks. A streak is the number of questions a player has answered correctly in a row. So let's say you've answered the last 2 questions correctly, you now have a winning streak of 2. Streaks are awesome because they allow players to actually be able to miss questions or join later in the game and still have a chance to win. We designed GameTime to be easy to use for any type of sports fan, no matter what their knowledge of it is. So how do we make money? One problem we've observed over the past few years is that people aren't watching TV commercials anymore. They're on their phones or on their computers, or they're getting another round of Fortnite in. GameTime has a solution to this. I'll show you how. When GameTime users are playing GameTime, we will warn them to watch an upcoming ad. GameTime users will then watch this ad and observe closely what's going on. After that ad is aired, we will ask a question about that commercial. This forces GameTime users to actually pay attention and be engaged in the advertisement.
So when we look at the GameTime customer, we originally just focused on the fantasy football fanatics. But the problem with this is fantasy football only really applies to the diehard sports fans that know how many rushing yards Adrian Peterson has or the touchdown receptions for Antonio Brown. But we realized through our MVP testing that the people who like GameTime the best are just the casual sports fans who don't have enough sports knowledge to play fantasy football but understand if a team makes a field goal or if LeBron scores in the next 2 possessions. So the customer for GameTime reaches all the in-between.
Our market size is huge. Nearly 192 million people in the United States consider themselves casual sports fans. 42% of those people have a smartphone out while they're watching. So we have a serviceable, addressable market of 80.7 million people. Like I said earlier, our source of revenue is advertising. We plan to charge $10 per 1,000 impressions, which is more than Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. However, we believe we can charge more due to the fact that our advertisements are engaging. In year 1, our goal is to capture users and develop a great product. In year 1, we plan to acquire 40,000 users. By years 4 and 5, we really plan to monetize our product. We plan to have 1 million users and be making over $2 million in revenue.
Tonight, we are asking for $11,890 for a 1-year runway of GameTime. The first thing we would do with this money is go back and develop the version 2 with all the features that we talked about earlier.
The next thing we would do is spend $5,341 to promote our app on social media sites such as Instagram and Twitter. Another thing we would do is spend $1,349 on organization development. This covers costs such as LLCs, accounting fees, and legal fees.
We've also set aside $1,000 for prize money. This is the money that throughout the year we would allocate to the winners of games. When we think about the exit strategy of GameTime and where it could really go when it develops a lot of users, we realize that TV networks like ESPN would be very interested in something like GameTime once it develops a big user base, because it would be a very easy way for ESPN or CBS Sports to drive people to their network.
Now, before we move on to questions, we'd really like to take this opportunity to thank all the mentors and guest coaches and teachers who've helped us out with this class, especially Mr. Phil Ernst, Mr. Kurt Wilkin, Mrs. Brenda LaGorda, and last but not least, Coach Nixon. You guys have provided us with invaluable advice, and we really appreciate it.
You can keep up with us on our Instagram and Twitter at GameTime Live app, as well as our website, gametime.buzz. Thank you.
So well done. You guys are dreaming big here, which I think is terrific. And the lead-in video was great and really nice job. Maybe I missed it, but is the cost of the app to the user free?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so all of the revenues from advertising. Have you thought specifically about which types of companies would be jumping at the chance to advertise? Can you speak a little more to that?
Just look at ESPN. Who's advertising in sports games? think about Home Depot and their advertisings, if any of you know, on College Game Day, where you'll see, countless number of Home Depot ads. Really just companies trying to get to the sports users and the high schoolers, the college students, and then a larger segment of 45, 50-year-old males, like companies trying to reach that customer segment. So like I said, Home Depot, Academy,
Chevy, car
Ford,
companies.
Companies like that.
To me, and I will tell you, I got a call, what's today, Friday? I got a call earlier this week from an entrepreneur who is pitching a very similar idea with a little bit more of a gambling hook to it. And so my question to you is, how do you get big fast? Because that really, I think, is the key here.
I think that the way that GameTime could scale is really the peer-to-peer marketing side of it. Like if you look at HQ Trivia or something like how something like this really takes off is you see your friends using it and more people use it and it just grows exponentially. So really if we add ways to have friends, get friends to play, I think that's really how something like this does get big.
I totally agree that the secret sauce here is how do you scale this? I mean, it has to happen. But I would be interested in knowing a little bit about how you think and how you've thought through this process. You must be very much students of fantasy football and a lot of different sports. What do you think others have done wrong that you're uniquely going to be able to scale because you're thinking about this in a different way?
Yeah, for sure. So there are services like this, as we said, that offer the ability to predict the plays in sports as they unfold. But really, what we've found is that all of these services, they offer multiple questions at a time, and it really takes away from the entire purpose of, cheering for something in the game because you don't even remember what you're cheering for. And they also, it's just complicated and it's hard to use, and the biggest problem with those companies is that they don't have the ability to come into a game and leave a game. It's like you have to be there from the beginning throughout the whole game for a chance to win. And with our idea of ranking players on how many questions they can get right in a row, it gives you the ability to come in halfway through the second quarter and then leave and come back in the fourth quarter, and you still have an opportunity to win.
Is that a novel idea, the streak, as you talked about?
Yeah, we have not seen that in another service. No.
Okay, awesome.
So I like the fact that you guys are bringing together sports and gaming. My background is gaming for many years, and so I like the ideas that you are presenting. I also like the unique aspects of it. I wanted to kind of follow up on one of these other questions. One of the other judges asked about gambling. The courts recently just said it's legal for you to bet around sports.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, have you guys examined other business models in addition to the advertising model? Advertising model is obviously good and is a well understood revenue stream, but have you explored others?
Exactly. So we based the entire idea following HQ in a way that was legal. That was kind of always the first idea. And what made it legal throughout that whole process was it's free to play. So you're not gambling in a way, but recently, as you mentioned, about a week ago, the Supreme Court ruling that deemed sports gambling legal does open up incredible number of options where you can actually, try to connect users or have paid rooms, or there's many different business models to follow now that has been legalized. Yes, sir.
So the current pricing at $10 per 1,000 impressions, what led you to that? And is it driven off of people getting the correct answer? As an advertiser, I'd like to know that not only did they swipe, but they actually paid attention.
Exactly.
Right, so it's pretty much The number right now is not set. Like, it's hard to put a set price on that because no one really advertises in that way yet. So we've looked at like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and so I think Twitter charges $4, Facebook's about $6, and Instagram's $7. So we believe that we decided to charge a couple dollars more just because it's more engaging. Like you want to pay attention to that commercial because it can help you out during the game because your streak improves, and it's a bonus question.
Yeah, and to answer your question about advertisers, only paying for questions if you get the question right. I think that does give you a lot of data into who actually does pay attention to the ad. And I think that, offering that bonus in the game, people would take advantage of that. I mean, the commercial's right there in front of them, and if you have the ability to gain an advantage in this game you're playing, it's not like a ton of work to just look up and be engaged in an ad.
Okay, that's the time.
Perfect. We're good.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
game time. Well done. Well done.